Hi, welcome to another edition of Social News Interviews. I'll be your host today, E-Rock Christopher. In today's episode, we're bringing back one of our featured guests. This gentleman has some breaking news for Canadians by being able to offer Canadians a free Equifax credit report, which is one of the official bureaus in Canada. This gentleman is a certified credit counselor in helping people everywhere in these current economic challenging times. So we're excited to bring back our amazing guest expert, none other than Mr. Avineet Kalsey, who's going to help us dismiss or dispel a big myth when it comes to credit repair. Welcome to today's episode.
Thank you, E-Rock. Thank you very much for having me again, and a very warm welcome to all your audience and giving me the opportunity to see everyone again. Thank you.
Awesome, Avineet. So obviously, people are still in the midst of experiencing some challenging and turbulent times with current economic challenges and crisis. And one of the things that you wanted to make sure to let the community know that there's an opportunity to get help, and you're here today to dispel a big myth when it comes to credit repair. So I wanted to make sure you could kind of clarify what you have to offer from the credit report and what it is that you're able to help people with today.
Certainly, E-Rock, as we previously discussed on your program, credit relevant information with your viewers. We're going to talk about credit counseling in general. We're going to talk about what credit bureau is, how credit reporting works, and if an individual has suffered some negative remarks on their credit bureau, how they can go ahead and rectify those and, so-called credit repair process and try to assist people, understand that better. So I'd like to start off, E-Rock, by stating first things first. We have two credit bureaus in Canada, Equifax and TransUnion. Those are the official credit bureaus. And it's important to understand that when you go online, there's a lot of other information available. We've talked about this before, that oftentimes what you read online is pertaining to the United States credit bureau and United States, credit system. There is a difference between Canada and US. In Canada, we only have officially two credit bureaus, which is Equifax and TransUnion. Often there's a third one talked about, but that's only exists in the US.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, with our viewers, Avineet. So you're here today to help dispel a fairly significant myth, especially when it comes to credit repair. There's a lot of companies that are offering and promoting their credit repair services. So is this like a legitimate process? Is this really true? Can people actually completely repair their credit?
That's a great question, E-Rock. So it's important to understand when an individual has suffered any negative remarks on their credit bureau, it's the same for every individual. There is no special treatment given to any one particular party or a company, who may claim that, look, we have special privileges, or we may have, other means of getting your credit repaired faster or rectified sooner. So if an individual has an account that is delinquent, that has been reported to the credit bureau as missed payments for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, it does stay on their individual's credit bureau for 6 years. And that is often from the last reported date by the creditor. So if a creditor reaches out to you, and they try to contact you, or they report it to the credit bureau as a fresh, delinquent account, it gets renewed for another 6 years. As I said earlier, people who are stating that, look, we can do credit repair for you or fix your credit sooner, it's not necessarily true. As anybody who has suffered any sort of negative remarks on their credit bureau, they can simply follow the standard process of first bringing the delinquent accounts up to date, or rectifying it either by going through credit counseling, filing a consumer proposal, or a bankruptcy. And once that information is updated on the individual's credit bureau, in due time, it falls off and it gets rectified itself.
Well, thank you for sharing those insights. I hope that our audience will get valuable information, can take action on that. So with the current challenges and the challenges that people are facing and the distress when it comes to paying bills and keeping up, and the importance of making timely payments, a lot of people are currently turning to a common practice with payday loans, check advances, things of that nature. Is this something that you recommend as a viable option for people to hopefully help solve their financial challenges?
Again, that's a great question, Iraq. In my opinion, going to payday loans or, one of these institutes where they offer you a loan against your payroll, your future payroll, oftentimes people feel that, that's the only option they have available when a bank turns them down, which might be true. And there's a reason why the bank is turning you down. It could be due to negative remarks on your credit bureau, your credit not being so good, your credit score, or it could be your overall financial health. So, companies like this, payday loans, they take advantage of individual situations like that, where they're willing to lend you money. However, what oftentimes a consumer doesn't realize is that what percentage they're borrowing the money against, from the payday loan company. Unfortunately, there is no cap on when it comes to, how much percentage they can charge. I have seen upwards of 500 to 600% when it comes to, borrowing money from payday loans. Certainly it feels, very minute amount when you're borrowing it. For example, you see advertisement, hey, borrow $200 and you only pay $20 towards the interest. But you're not realizing when they're doing the calculations, for the week that they're lending in the money for, it's at a substantially high interest rate. So I would strongly recommend against anybody going to payday loans or trying to borrow money for long term if that's where their needs are. If it's something that's necessary for a short period of time and there's no other means to borrow money from your conventional bank, then certainly these options are available. However, to say that, I'm going to sustain my lifestyle or my day-to-day living, based on borrowing from one payday loan to another payday loan and just continue on that, I don't think it's sustainable for very long. And we see those kind of clients come into our office all the time that they've been borrowing for years, because what happens is you get into a vicious cycle of, borrowing from one payday loan to pay off another payday loan, because they have certain, short period requirements where those loans have to be paid back in a certain period. So again, it's not an ideal situation, and I generally advise people against that.
Well, thanks for sharing the wisdom with our audience, Avineet. And if you're just joining us, we're here with Avineet Kalsey, who is a certified credit counselor helping Canadians and is currently offering a free Equifax credit report and helping consumers to attain those. Now, let's also talk about, though, not just consumers, but what about small business owners, entrepreneurs? Obviously, with the global challenges that the world is facing, at this time, there's a lot of businesses and entrepreneurs who have been been forced into a position to have to shut their doors. So most entrepreneurs don't necessarily want to have to go back, get a job, and start from just being in the corporate world. What advice can you offer entrepreneurs and small business owners when it comes to getting back on their feet and getting into a position to where maybe they can open up a new business sooner rather than later?
Again, a great question, Iraq. It's no secret that in the last year or so, the entire world has faced, very challenging times due to various reasons. And we've had many, many small businesses, mom and pop shops suffer where they've shut down their businesses altogether. Or they're struggling, just to keep their doors open. So in a scenario like that, Iraq, I would recommend that, you reach out to your, first of all, your bank to see if you've got past dues, you've got some loans that are outstanding and you're not able to keep up with your payments. Reach out to your institute, and oftentimes they have options available for you where they'll work with you. They'll give you either some deferral programs where you're able to defer your payments or some of the interest. And if that doesn't help, or if you exhaust all those options, then perhaps you want to see what options are available from the government side. Provincial governments, federal governments, they have introduced many programs to help small businesses to keep afloat, just so they can keep their doors open. We want to keep our economy going. We don't want our small businesses suffering. So there are many options available. Also, one of the things I would recommend is for you to look over your own personal finances to see, how you can budget yourself better. Perhaps now would be the time when you've got a money crunch. Now would be the time to sit down and write down a budget. How much do we bring home? What my leisurely expenditure is, where I can cut down, what I can do on my own, trying to, save a dollar or two, and see how I can, keep myself afloat. So there are many, many, avenues you can, pursue and get help from.
Well, I know based on our research here at Social News Views that bankruptcies are currently trending. Obviously, people are forced with the current circumstances to turn to that as a viable solution to solve their problems. But a lot of people, want to try to do the honorable thing and are looking for ways to potentially avoid bankruptcy or declaring bankruptcy. Is there any tips or advice that you can offer people when it comes to avoiding bankruptcy?
Absolutely, Iraq. I'd love to share, with your viewers. There are various things. Again, bankruptcy, in my opinion, although that's primarily what we do as a credit counseling firm. We help people, go through personal bankruptcies or file consumer proposals. In my opinion, bankruptcy should be the last resort when it comes to dealing with your finances. There are other ways, as I said just in the previous segment, that first things first, if I was an individual in that position, I would reach out to my creditors. Start off by reaching out to the banks you owe money to. Oftentimes, you'd be surprised, how willing they are to work with you and, give you some sort of alternative solution to a bankruptcy. They may defer your interest. They may defer your payments. They may give you a break on some of the principal balance. So, that would be a good place to start. And as I said, just reviewing your finances to see how we can, budget yourself better, where you can, really cut down and see where you can trim some of your expenditure down. Now, if it comes down to it, where you're insolvent, you're not able to, sustain your day-to-day expenditure based on your take-home income, then of course, we have the BIA Act available, which is a Bankruptcy Insolvency Act at a federal level throughout all provinces and throughout Canada, where an individual can enter, get themselves enrolled into one of these programs, either going through a consumer proposal to restructure their debts or going through a personal bankruptcy to get a fresh start. One of the myths is that, bankruptcy is the worst possible thing you can do. In my opinion, Iraq, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes if you have an overwhelming load of debt, perhaps bankruptcy might be the right fit for the individual to, get a fresh start, because the law allows you to go ahead and write off all your debts if you qualify, throughout the program, and start fresh. And you're able to reestablish your credit rating oftentimes within a year to year and a half, 12 to 18 months after getting out of the bankruptcy. So perhaps, when it really comes down to it, if it's overwhelming, it may not be such a bad idea. It all depends, on the individual situation. We certainly advise on a, case-to-case basis. I would need to first review the individual situation, their financial situation, before I could advise, what would be the viable option for them.
Well, let's go into that a little bit further, Avineet, because obviously people are put into a predicament where they have to make some tough decisions. And one of those tough decisions is, do they choose to go the route of trying to settle their current debts, or is it just simply better to declare bankruptcy? What's your advice and thoughts on how to navigate and make that difficult decision?
Yeah, again, Iraq, that's a great question. So oftentimes I get clients come into our office and, they have, some money put away, or they have some funds available to them. However, their mindset is that, hey, I should just go ahead and declare bankruptcy and, just get it over with. So again, as a trained professional, it's my job to identify that if an individual fits in a settlement round where, bankruptcy may not be the only option for them. And when I advise, individuals to file a settlement versus a bankruptcy is when they have the ability to pay their debts. It not necessarily in its entire amount at 100 cents on the dollar, but if they have some money to pay their debts back, oftentimes the collection agencies that, the third party agencies that these accounts are assigned to after non-payment, they will cooperate with the individual. They will give you a break. They will certainly settle some of these debts down, because at the end of the day, the way the creditors are looking at your outstanding dues is they would rather have something than nothing. Something is better than nothing. So if you offer them, 25 cents, 30 cents on the dollar, or even 50 cents on the dollar, that's better than them getting absolutely zero. So if you have the ability to pay back some debts. Again, depending on your take-home earnings, after your expenditure, if there's some money left over, or even oftentimes you're able to borrow some money from some family members, extended family, not the full sum, but some money, you can potentially avoid a bankruptcy. You can enter into a settlement with your creditors. They'll write off majority of the debt off, and they'll take a small, amount back from you and call it a day. And that way the individual avoids a bankruptcy and potentially a long-term effect on their credit.
Well, thank you for sharing those insights, Avineet. And, when faced with these kind of difficult decisions when it comes to bankruptcy, some people may even be considering filing bankruptcy themselves because maybe they think it's too expensive, it's outside their price point. And I also wanted to put you in a little bit of a hot seat as a corollary to that question, which is, one of the things that our research team discovered is that you have a unique strategy that when people come and counsel with you, that you have some strategies on how they can obtain home ownership sooner rather than later, even if they do have to declare bankruptcy. So maybe you could address some of that with our audience.
Absolutely. Again, a great question, Iraq. Thank you for asking that question, because that's a very common question we get asked in our office here. Oftentimes, people come in here. One of the ultimate dreams as a new immigrant to Canada, or even anyone who's from here, is to have home ownership. Eventually, own their own residence. Have a property, a real estate property under their name. They may not be in an ability where they have saved up, enough down payment, or they have adequate income, or their credit is in line with what the bank's requirements are. So that's where, again, as a credit counselor, I can come in, where we can assess that individual's needs and situation. We're often able to address their debt problems, by either settling or going through one of the programs that we offer, bring their score back up again, where it's required for the individual to be qualified for a mortgage, and also assist them, guide them through, how to have some savings so they're able to have some, money saved up for as a down payment. One of the things we offer here, Iraq, is that I'm also a licensed mortgage broker. So I'm able to assist people not only deal with their debt problems, I'm able to assist them in line themselves where we get them qualified for a mortgage down the road. And, oftentimes it's a bit of a process. It's not overnight. It may take 6 months to a year for the individual to qualify for a mortgage, but absolutely, that's one of the services we offer in our office.
Well, I think people will be very happy to find out that, in case they have to make that decision and obtain bankruptcy services from a company such as yours, that they're on a faster track to get into a position to be on stable ground and retain and obtain home ownership. So with that being said, Avineet, I want to help wrap things up in today's interview. Is there any kind of predictions or thoughts that you have about the future of the Canadian economy? And is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Absolutely. I would like to finish off our interview with Iraq. Again, thanking you for giving me the opportunity to speak to your audience and, reach the masses. I think there's a lot of myths and misunderstandings when it comes to finances. So I would often, tell everyone, whoever's watching our program, that, you need to, if you have certain questions about, the bankruptcy process or any sort of financial, issues that you may be facing, it's good to reach out to a professional. It's never too late. The word bankruptcy has such a stigma against it that, look, if I go bankrupt or if I talk to about someone about bankruptcy, I'm going to feel embarrassed, which in my opinion, it's not necessarily true. It's a legal process. It's available for anyone and everyone. So, if someone is going through some financial hardship, please reach out to a professional, talk to someone about it, look at your options that are available and, make a sound decision based on that. And then, once you have hired someone, do ensure, look at their credibility, how long the business has been around, what kind of, reviews are online available for them. And again, deal with a reputable company, because there are people, there are companies who may advertise, that look, we can guarantee fixing your credit and we can guarantee this or that, which necessarily is not true, because as we discussed earlier in the program, it's a standard process that anyone can do. You don't need to necessarily hire someone to fix your credit. If you have bad credit, you can certainly pay your dues and, communicate directly with the Equifax or TransUnion and resolve your credit bureau and bring your score back up again. However, if you need assistance with something like that, where you're not able to manage on your own, reach out to, anyone, including ourselves. We're here to help. We've been around for over 20 years, Iraq. We've been providing services throughout Canada. We have offices, throughout the entire, pretty much throughout all provinces, from East Coast to the West Coast. Our head office being in Toronto, Ontario, and I myself am located in Vancouver, BC. Then we're in Alberta, we're in Winnipeg. So, we're here to help. Certainly reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to guide you through and, give you sound advice.
Well, thank you for sharing all the insights and wisdoms with our audience today, Avineet. And for those of you that are watching, please keep in mind that one of the great benefits of Avineet and what he's here to share with us today is the breaking news that he's able to help consumers obtain a free Equifax credit report through his company. So Avineet, thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with our community. Thanks for being with us today.
Again, thank you for having me, Iraq.
Awesome. So once again, my name is Iraq Christopher. This has been another edition of Social News Interviews. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on another edition of Social News Interviews. Thanks so much, and have an incredible day.